Inside of a year since switching to the Ursa Mini Pro G2, camera that I love, I've just sent one back for repair or replacement for the third time. And as much as I love this camera when it's working, this is really wearing me down, having to think about other options. And yeah, I just want to share this with you, where I'm at, what I'm thinking, and what our next steps might be. So first of all, those of you who do watch the channel, I know there's not heaps of you, but sorry it's been so long since I last posted. We were going along through this whole COVID thing pretty steady, and then where I am in Western Australia, we're doing very well, to be honest. Little to no community transmission, and as much as production was hit initially, then things really opened up, and I found myself just with a lot of projects that had been put on hold, came on, and then other projects that were then able to happen once things opened up all came on board as well. So I had a 3-4 week period there of just constant shooting, most of which, or all of which, I was using our Ursa Mini Pro G2, the second one we've had. So just to fill you in on the history, our first Ursa Mini Pro G2 that we had, I'll link to some videos down below. It just bricked. It totally died on us on a commercial shoot with a big agency. Really bad. It was not great. We were fortunately able to have our runner go off and get a higher one to replace it, and we did a few shots on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K, which I'm shooting on right now in the interim, but it wasn't ideal. Later after that, I had a faulty SDI port on that, and I was getting all kinds of weird, basically I wasn't getting a clean feed out of that at all. I don't know if that was just a loose connection inside. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't, and when it did work, it would cut out. It would go either to a pink screen, and I'd get that on the monitor. That's right, there's a video about that. The monitor would go pink, or it would not turn on, and then the SDI to the EVF wouldn't work either. This time, smallest issue that I've had, that front SDI port on the camera, which we use for the EVF, just suddenly stopped working. And I was on an E&G style shoot, so shoulder mounted. I was in the northern parts of Western Australia. So I was very bright, very hot, daylight. I had the 6K. I always have it with me, and especially after the other experiences that I've had with the Ursa Mini Pro G2, I've been paranoid about something happening, but I tend to always have a B cam there. But the issue is we have a Zacuto Gradical Eye EVF, and that's an SDI only EVF. So I could use this. I could have switched to the 6K, but anyway, I didn't. I made do. What happened? And I should say I was shooting a video of people that were doing a virtual link up. This is one of the biggest companies in Australia with one of the biggest software companies in the world, and we had their CEO on the other end. So it was a big sort of deal for the people that were involved in this. I mean, I was just capturing it. I was just shooting. I was all set up. I shot for 2 minutes, turned the camera off for a minute, came back. We were live, like there was no stopping. So I had these guys were all, I had no control over the situation. I was just shooting it. Turn it back on, rig it up. Can't get the EVF to work. Quickly tried a few different SDI cables. It was gone, but I didn't have time to switch it up, so I quickly took it off my Zacuto shoulder rig, and I ended up shooting the whole thing with the camera against my chest, looking down at that little little screen, which is fine for just operating the menus. But I was in a bit of shade, but it was still very bright and very tricky to see. I'm actually super happy with myself with the images that I got, considering the situation. But it was, yeah, then the rest of the day, the stuff that I had to do in sunlight, because they wanted 120 FPS B-roll, I had to do it on that camera. And yeah, I was just shooting everything off that tiny little monitor screen. There is a rear SDI port, but we record to SSDs, and the SSD attachment on the back uses that. So yeah, it was a real pain. And yeah, we've now sent our second, so this was a replacement Ursa Mini Pro G2. We've sent that off now for repair or replacement. I've actually asked them to ask, you know, will they consider letting us upsell or pay the difference to move to the Ursa 12K. And so I find myself in a really tricky position with the Ursa G2. It's a camera that I absolutely love. When it's working, I think it's the best value cinema camera out there, because it can kind of do everything. You know, it records wonderful RAW with Blackmagic RAW, and that workflow is fantastic, particularly in Resolve. It's got ProRes there when you need it. It's got 120 FPS, it's got inbuilt NDs, and it's got decent audio, it's got beautiful color and really good dynamic range. It's got everything that I need, except a couple of things that I wish it had is, you know, some kind of continuous autofocus with face tracking. I mostly shoot on manual lenses though, so it's not that big a deal. It's a thing I'd like to have. But as much as I love this camera, when it's working, I don't trust it anymore. It's always in the back of my mind, that this thing's gonna break. Inside of 1 year, this is the third time I've had to send an Ursa Mini Pro G2 off for repair or replacement. Third time inside of a year, and I do not think that is an acceptable, it's not an acceptable level of quality. I love like Blackmagic's mission as a company. I love what they're about, but the level of reliability that I'm getting out of the Ursa is unacceptable. Meanwhile, the 6K, which I'm shooting on right now, has been flawless. Like this thing hasn't skipped a beat, and it's the way cheaper camera. Yeah, so I just feel like, so where I'm at the moment is, do I just ignore this? Do I just live with it? I guess we've got another year on the warranty. And I've thought about this a lot, like, and I was chatting to Shane about it earlier today, and I said, I think what we need to do, as much as I love the Blackmagic ecosystem, is like, we need an A cam that we can rely on. I'm always going to bring a backup camera there just in case, but it's not usually of quite the same quality and feature set. For example, the 6K, yeah, it's got lots of resolution, but it doesn't have quite the same dynamic range. It doesn't have the same frame rate options. It doesn't have built-in NDs, but it's an incredible value. So it's excellent to have there as a B cam and to have there as a backup, but I can't do all the same things with it that I can do with the Ursa. But I just can't see us paying for two of them just to have that second one there in case one breaks. Like, yeah, it could be cool to have two, but we don't need that. It doesn't make sense as a use of money. So I just find myself going, all right, you know, do we need to be looking at other camera combinations? So this is what I'm thinking, right, is obviously the camera comes back, not getting rid of it, we love the camera. If Blackmagic will let us upgrade to the Ursa Mini, to the Ursa 12K, maybe we'll give that a shot. that would be really cool, and I think I'd like to do that. But I think what Shane and I are going to do over the next few months is test out some other camera combos, the Sony FX9 and the Canon C300 Mark III, also the C70 as well. But I'd see the C70 more as a B cam to the C300 Mark III, which has, you know, great codecs even at the higher frame rates. Yeah, and just try these cameras out, not with an immediate intention of moving over, but figuring out, all right, if this thing stuffs up again and we really cannot rely on it, let's make sure that we know, we have a really good idea of which system, you know, we want to jump to. And whether that's, you know, keeping with, whether that's getting like an FX9 and also like an A7S Mark III, or the C300 Mark III and a C70 or an R5, or can we get either of those cameras to match well with our 6K as a B cam? And how well do the different codecs play together in post-production? I often find that although you can combine many different cameras, many different codecs on a sequence, I find it's always smoother if you stick to the same codec, whether that's converting everything to ProRes or Cineform or DNx HD, or just working in Blackmagic RAW, which is what we're mostly doing here at the moment. And this is what's so frustrating. I freaking love Blackmagic RAW. I love the Ursa Mini Pro G2 when it works, but I just can't rely on it, and that's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because really, when it's firing, it's a beast of a camera, and at the cost, it's just brilliant. So yeah, I don't know, what would you do? What would you do if you were in our position? So we've got 2-year warranty. We've got about, I don't know exactly what the buy date was, but we've had it about a year, just under maybe, just under now or just over, and yeah, we've got another year on the warranty. But it's just, you know, a lot of my work is travel. I go away, and I'm sometimes in remote areas, and although I'll have the 6K there, I can't, unlike on the commercial at the start of the year, I can't quickly and easily pick up a replacement. And what do you think about the amount of issues we've had inside of a year? Do you think that's acceptable? Should I be chatting to Blackmagic about this? I mean, I had Reds for years. I've had a Canon 5D for years. I've got a Sony A7S original. They, you know, the Reds worked without a hitch right up until we sold them. We've still got our old A7S and our old 5D, and they still like work. This is very new to me, having such an unreliable camera. And it is now the most, as incredible value as it is when it's working, it's the most expensive camera that we own at the moment. And yeah, it's really frustrating. Now, I think that's it. So yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on how we go, if we get any response on the request to upgrade to a 12K. I just don't think having three returns for replacement or repair inside of a year is acceptable, regardless of who the manufacturer is. and it puts real doubt in my mind about buying Blackmagic cameras again. But I just absolutely love working with them when they work. The UI is excellent, color's excellent, codecs are beyond excellent. Price is good. What would you do? Let me know, please, like seriously, let me know in the comments below. And we'll be coming back with more content. We've had a lot going on, and we'll be ramping up content and getting things happening more consistently over here.